Mistake number 4, failure to understand and plan for death taxes. So the thing to keep in mind with respect to death taxes is, what is your estate? What does it include? Well, it includes your home, your primary residence, and your retirement plan. So if you have been contributing and your employer's been matching to a 401k, 403b, 457, these qualified plans as we call them, well, that's going to be part of your estate, even if you have a beneficiary on those accounts, including life insurance. I think a lot of people know that there is no income tax liability on life insurance, but it is part of your estate. And when it comes time to calculate whether any estate taxes are owed, we are going to look at the life insurance. So, with a married couple, they could easily have $500,000 policy on each other. That can quickly increase the size of your estate. And then additional real estate, rental properties, vacation properties, and so forth. The autos, boats, RVs, and then your stuff, the stuff in your house, your furnishings, collections, personal property, the things that you've been collecting over a lifetime have filled your home. But luckily for you and for me, right now we can shelter $5.2 million from estate tax. So given that most people are not, they don't have a taxable estate, so they're not too worried about paying estate tax right now. However, in President Obama's most recent budget proposal, he has proposed reducing that amount that we can shelter significantly. We don't know how low it's going to go. But for right now, most people do not have an estate tax problem. But there's an additional problem that you might want to consider, especially if you've done any estate planning previously. Prior to 2001, before the Bush tax cuts, each spouse was only able to shelter $600,000 from estate tax. And together that was $1.2 million. So if you have a home with a couple $100,000 and you each had retirement accounts, a couple $100,000 in each, and had some life insurance, you could easily be over the $1.2 million mark. So many estate planning attorneys, even up to the end of last year, were preparing what's called an A-B trust. And it goes by a couple other names. You may have heard a bypass trust, an exemption trust, a credit shelter trust. And the idea with all these trusts is the same, that upon the death of the first spouse, their 1/2 of the trust property is funded into this subtrust, this bypass trust. Well, that bypass trust is irrevocable now. So the surviving spouse doesn't have the ability to amend and revoke that trust. And they may be entitled to income with respect to that 1/2, but their access to the principal is limited. And we were talking a few minutes ago about, maybe necessary to take funds out of the living trust, put it in a Medicaid trust, put it in a VA trust. Well, if the assets are in that bypass trust and it's irrevocable, we're going to have a hard time getting those assets over into the a different type of trust to make sure that we can qualify the surviving spouse for some of these benefits. So a lot of my clients are coming in, we're doing a trust review, and we're looking at these AB trust provisions, and we're altering the trust to give more flexibility to the surviving spouse. So that, if need be, they can amend and revoke the trust. They can change the beneficiaries if necessary, and so forth. The additional problem is if we have what I like to call a capital asset, an asset that's going to appreciate over time. Well, if we have that asset in our trust, and it has these AB trust provisions, upon the death of the first spouse, we get a step up in basis. And what that means is that if we turn around and sell that asset, we're not going to have any capital gains. But if that asset appreciates in between the death of the first spouse and the second spouse, there could be a capital gains problem on at least 1/2 of the estate. So that's why we want to maintain the flexibility and make sure that our kids receive the full step up in basis upon our death. And if you have any more questions about that, feel free to talk to me afterward. I'll be happy to go in a little bit more detail regarding the step up in basis issue.